The Kerma culture, Africa's first urban powerhouse. The Kerma culture, circa 2500 to 1500 BC, centered in what is now northern Sudan, represents one of Africa's earliest urban civilizations. Named after its capital at Kerma near the third cataract of the Nile, this kingdom laid the foundation for Nubian power. Unlike the fragmented tribal societies often assumed in early African history, Kerma was a highly organized state with a complex social structure, monumental architecture, and extensive trade networks. Its story challenges the notion that advanced civilizations in Africa were solely derivative of Egyptian influence. Origins and rise. Around 5000 BC, as the Sahara began to dry, nomadic peoples migrated toward the Nile, bringing with them skills in pottery and animal domestication. By 2500 BC, these groups had coalesced into the Kerma culture, establishing a capital at Kerma, or Daki Jel, a city that may have housed up to 10,000 people. Archaeological evidence reveals a bustling urban center with mud brick buildings, storage facilities, and a massive structure known as the Western Defufa, a temple or administrative complex standing over 18 meters tall. This structure, made of mud brick reinforced with timber, showcases Kerma's architectural ingenuity as it withstood the region's harsh climate for centuries. Kerma's economy thrived on agriculture, cattle herding, and trade. The fertile Nile Valley supported crops like wheat, barley, and dates, while cattle were a symbol of wealth and social status. Kerma's strategic location made it a trade hub, connecting sub-Saharan Africa with Egypt and the Mediterranean. Gold, ivory, ebony, and incense flowed north, while Egyptian goods like linen and beer were imported. This trade fostered wealth and cultural exchange, evident in Kerma's finely crafted pottery, characterized by black-topped red ware and geometric designs. Social and political complexity. Kerma's society was stratified, with a ruling elite buried in elaborate tumuli, large burial mounds containing grave goods like jewelry, weapons, and even human sacrifices. Excavations at Kerma's cemetery, with an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 tombs, reveal a society with significant social inequality. Elite burials included hundreds of sacrifice retainers, suggesting a belief in the afterlife where rulers required attendance. These practices, while paralleled in Egypt, were distinctly Nubian, with circular tumuli contrasting with Egypt's angular pyramids. The kingdom's political structure likely centered on a divine kingship, with rulers wielding both secular and religious authority. The Western Defufa may have served as a ceremonial center, reinforcing the king's divine status. Kerma's military prowess was notable, with archers renowned for their skill, earning Nubia the Egyptian moniker Toseti, land of the bow. These archers were often recruited into Egyptian armies, indicating Kerma's influence beyond its borders. Kerma's relationship with Egypt was dynamic, marked by trade, conflict, and cultural exchange. During Egypt's Old Kingdom, circa 2686 to 2181 BC, Nubia supplied raw materials, as recorded in Egyptian trade accounts. However, as Egypt's power waned during the First Intermediate Period, circa 2181 to 2055 BC, Kerma grew stronger, expanding north into Lower Nubia. By the Second Intermediate Period, circa 1780 to 1550 BC, Kerma's rulers invaded Upper Egypt, seizing monuments and establishing diplomatic ties with the Hyksos, Egypt's foreign rulers. This expansion provoked a response from Egypt's new kingdom. Pharaoh Ahmose, r. 1550 to 1525 BC, conquered Kerma, extending Egyptian control to the Fourth Cataract. The occupation lasted nearly 500 years, Egyptianizing Kerma's elite through the adoption of Egyptian gods, hieroglyphs, and burial practices. Yet, the Nubian masses retained their distinct identity, speaking local languages and maintaining traditional customs. Kerma's decline began with Egypt's conquest, but its cultural legacy persisted. The kingdom's urban planning, trade networks, and artistic traditions influenced later Nubian states like Kush. Archaeological neglect, partly due to early Egyptologists' focus on Egypt, obscured Kerma's significance until recent excavations revealed its sophistication. The untold story of Kerma lies in its role as a pioneer of African urbanism, challenging Eurocentric narratives that downplayed sub-Saharan achievements. Its monumental defufa and vast cemeteries stand as testaments to a civilization that thrived independently while engaging with one of the ancient world's greatest powers. II. The Kingdom of Kush, conquerors of Egypt. The Kingdom of Kush, circa 1000 BC 350 AD, emerged as Nubia's most powerful state, achieving a feat unmatched by most ancient civilizations, the conquest of Egypt. Centered initially at Napata and later at Meroe, Kush's rulers became Egypt's 25th dynasty, ruling from 760 to 656 BC. This period, known as the Ethiopian dynasty, highlights Kush's political and cultural influence, yet its story is often sidelined in favor of Egypt's narrative. Kush emerged during Egypt's third intermediate period, c. 1070 to 664 BC, a time of political fragmentation. Around 850 BC, King Alara unified Nubian tribes, founding the Napatan dynasty at Napata, near the holy mountain of Jebel Barkal. This site, revered as the dwelling of the god Ammonius, gave Kush's rulers divine legitimacy. Alara's successor, Kashta, extended Kushite control to Thebes in Upper Egypt, setting the stage for conquest. Under King Pi, r. 743 to 712 BC, Kush achieved its greatest triumph. Around 727 BC, Pi launched a military campaign, conquering Lower Egypt and unifying the Nile Valley. His victory stele, discovered at Jebel Barkal, details his campaign, portraying him as a restorer of Egyptian traditions. Pi's rule established the 25th dynasty, with Nubian kings adopting Egyptian titles, building pyramids, and reviving Old Kingdom artistic styles. The 25th dynasty, under rulers like Pi, Shabaka, and Taharqa, was a high point of Nubian power. Taharqa, r. 690 to 664 BC, oversaw a cultural renaissance, commissioning temples and pyramids in both Nubia and Egypt. His reign saw the construction of over 200 pyramids in Sudan, more than in Egypt, reflecting Kush's wealth and architectural ambition. These pyramids, smaller and steeper than Egyptian ones, were distinctly Nubian, with bodies buried in the fetal position rather than mummified. Kush's rulers embraced Egyptian religion, venerating Ammonius and building temples at Napata and Thebes. However, they introduced Nubian elements, such as the double cobra on royal crowns, symbolizing the unification of Egypt and Kush. Their administration was efficient, with Nubian viceroys governing Egyptian territories. Kushite archers, famed for their precision, bolstered the dynasty's military might. The 25th dynasty faced external threats, particularly from the Assyrian Empire. In 671 BC, Assyrian king Esarhaddon invaded Egypt, driving Taharqa from Memphis. Taharqa's successor, Tentamani, briefly retook Egypt but was expelled by Ashurbanipal in 664 BC. The Assyrians installed Psammetichus I as a vassal, ending Nubian rule in Egypt. The Kushites retreated to Napata, maintaining their independence. Around 591 BC, the Kushite capital shifted to Meroe, further south, due to Egyptian raids and environmental changes. Meroe's fertile lands and iron resources sustained Kush's prosperity. The kingdom developed the Meroitic script, a unique alphabetic system still partially undeciphered, highlighting its cultural independence. Kush's conquest of Egypt was a remarkable achievement, yet early Egyptologists like George Reisner downplayed its significance, attributing Nubian successes to Egyptian influence or claiming Kushite rulers were of Egypto-Libyan descent. This bias obscured Kush's African identity and contributions. Recent scholarship, supported by excavations at Meroe and Epata, reveals a civilization that blended Egyptian and indigenous elements, creating a unique cultural synthesis. Kush's untold story lies in its role as a Black African empire that shaped the ancient world, challenging narratives of African inferiority.